Hello there, Pursuing Freedom friends, and thanks for being with us today. We've got an awesome interview today with Bess Tracy from Denver, Colorado. She's with Team Bivi. And actually, we had Bivi on the podcast a couple months ago, I think. And both of them are so amazing. I felt it important to have Bess on the show as well because they both bring their own unique story of finding their own success in real estate and then ultimately finding this marriage of amazing teamwork and what it looks like to navigate that journey. So with no further ado, I'm going to have Bess introduce herself. Tell us a little bit about your backstory, Bess, and how did you get into real estate and kind of what it's looked like up to today, and we'll kind of just dive right in.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm excited to be here and talking to you all. I basically got into real estate. My dad was a builder in Winter Park, Colorado. I grew up with him. I didn't know what a real estate agent was, actually. He built our home. And so when I graduated with my business degree, he said, you should go get a real estate license and sell my spec homes. It was all very new to me, but I agreed. Well, I graduated in 2008. So every builder basically up there went under. And I moved to Boulder at that point and started working at a real estate company. And that's where I ended up getting my real estate license and kind of just jumped in by 2012 full time. And it's kind of right when the market came back, which was great. But it was still a little bit slow. So that's kind of where I got my start in real estate. And I worked at Keller Williams first, and I was a buyer's agent for a gal that had been an agent there for several years. Learned a ton through that. Then I actually went to California for a little while to go to interior design school, got my real estate license out there, had a business partner, and kind of started building a team out there. Once I was ready to come back to Colorado, I reactivated my license, and luckily before I had left, I had built a pretty good network and business and had several clients who had tons of equity. So as soon as I got back, I basically had lots of listings and was able to just jump right back in. And it's just been really great ever since.
Wow. So what year did you get back to Colorado?
That was 2016. No, the fall of 2015. And then I really hit the ground running that December once I got settled back into town.
So this is interesting. This is going to be the first. I mean, it's a very unique perspective that you had on '08. I mean, we've talked a lot with agents on the show that have gone through that time period. But you being in a family where there was a builder involved, that's a perspective we haven't heard yet. I mean, what did that look like for you, for your dad, and then ultimately, like, how did it come full circle for them and for you?
Well, it's actually very interesting. So I was planning on going to interior design school after my business degree. And because my dad's company went under, it was really just not feasible. So that's why I went forward and just got my real estate license so I could pay for design school myself. It impacted my family pretty difficult. It was sorry, my dog is barking. It was difficult. But I think not having a parent that could actually support a college student just coming right out of college, it made me a lot more hungry and motivated to do what I wanted to do. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise because it really made me get out there and start selling in order to get to where I'm at now.
So you said that you moved down to Boulder and you jumped right into Keller Williams as a buyer's agent right then and there. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, I did. Yeah. Well, actually I did. Sorry. I got my real estate license in, I think, 2009, and I did property management for a year. It was a really great job. But once I started seeing people have enough equity to start selling their homes out of that time, that's when I jumped into real estate full time. So I worked at a real estate and property management company in Boulder. And then made the full switch over to real estate once I started seeing people have enough equity to sell. The way it kind of came full circle for my father actually over time is once I came back to Denver, we were able to start doing fix and flips to keep him busy and start growing that business again. So that was actually a really fun project for us to do as a family as well.
That's awesome. Are there any other family members that are in the industry in some fashion?
Yeah, my brother's still a builder up in Winter Park, actually.
Okay, cool. And
Yeah.
when you got in, so you were doing the property management, you kind of had an eye for real estate, and then you jumped in full force. And so you mentioned that, how long were you a buyer's agent before you went to California?
It was 17 months, 16 months, 16 months. I was there for 16 months, and I did a really good amount of business in that time. Yeah, I was not really, I wasn't able to learn listings. My sole focus was, I was hired to be solely a buyer's agent. So when I got back from California, well, actually when I went out to California, I really focused on getting listings, and had a buyer's agent because I was in school, obviously. So that was successful. It was a learning curve because I was learning the California market and learning how to list properties. So it was a lot, but I did it. And then when I came back, it was kind of that time where I had put a lot of buyers and homes in 2014. And by 2016, when I got back, they were all ready to sell because they all had about $100,000 in equity. So I ended up doing a lot of sells. I just sold a lot of their properties and then helped them find other properties.
So this is really interesting to me that you went to grad school and also had your real estate license in a new state and that you were successful getting listings. So talk to me a little bit about that. I mean, did you hang your license somewhere where they were giving you a bunch of mentoring, or how did
No, actually, I actually moved to a Keller Williams out there, because I had a really good track record out of Keller Williams here. And I always went to the family reunions and everything. So I actually knew I had a pretty good Keller Williams network. So once I got out there, I did have a little bit of mentoring just when it came to California market, really. But because I really learned by watching people, and I really only have to hear things once to remember them. So I learned a lot from the listing agent that I worked for prior to moving to California. So it really wasn't difficult selling the homes. It was just something I hadn't done. And wow. I hired a TC to help me with because their disclosures are so different than here, and contracts. And she really mentored me through that. And the TCs out there a lot more expensive, but she was, she worked for it. So she really helped me out with all the contracts I needed.
So I very much respect the fact that you're glazing over this California experience, but it's ridiculous. It's amazing. So you're in school, you hire an assistant, you have a buyer's agent, and you're becoming a listing expert in a state you've never been before, which is, You were there for how long?
I was there for 9 months.
Oh my gosh, you're insane. I love you.
I've heard I'm insane. I get told that a lot. So.
Oh my gosh. Well, we all are in this industry a little bit, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's what it takes.
Okay, awesome. So when you got back, fast forward, it's now like 2015, is that right? When you got back and reinstated?
Yeah, October of 2015 is when I got back. I had a friend reach out to me. I was kind of just getting really resettled back into Colorado when I got back. And I think November, my friends had reached out to me and said, I really need to buy a house. And I closed them by December. That was a really high price point. So I was able to kind of just restart from there. But that's, I really actually, when I got back, I just contacted all my clients that I had sold properties to previously and said, hey, I'm back. And I scheduled meetings with all of them. I brought them all Christmas presents. And it just really got the conversation going of, well, now I have equity. Can you sell my house? I want to buy something else. So it really was me being very intentional, getting back and reconnecting with my sphere.
And did you initially hang your license at Keller again?
I did. I came back and hung my license right at Keller. And then, I was there for about a month. And I really just kind of did it to sell my friend this house. And in December, and I really my plan was to come back and kind of start looking at different brokerages. Because when I started in real estate in Denver, I had never really explored any other companies or what they had to offer. I never did any of that just because I was hired directly onto a team that was at Keller. So it was my plan to really start interviewing different companies and seeing what else there was that was out there. And I did a lot of that. I went to a lot of different companies, really started doing my market research. And and decided I told myself it was leap year. So I told myself by the end of February, on February 29th, that I was going to make a decision on one, because it was already kind of through the most part of first quarter. And so I knew I couldn't really focus on growing my business back up if I didn't have a place to be. So I hung my license at Keller just because I, had to start doing deals right away, but it was not a plan to stay there.
Okay. And how did you find Team Vivi then? Because that's where you went next, right?
Yeah. So
where you are
I interviewed so many companies and several teams. I knew I didn't want to necessarily be a single agent, but I knew I didn't want to ever be a buyer's agent again or just work under anyone. So I went I met with several brokerages, several teams. It was really just not what I was looking for. I really wanted to have a lot of control over my business and not be under somebody else's. And so I did finally find a team that I really, really like them. And I think they do a really great job, and they were the best fit for me at that time. But right when I sat down to sign the contracts that day, a lender called me that knew kind of what I was looking for. And he said, you have to meet this woman. She's looking exactly for what she's looking for a partner, exactly what you've been telling me you're looking for. Go meet her. Don't sign anything. Just go see her. And so I called her and she said, well, meet me. It was like probably 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I met her for lunch the next day. It was a Friday. And we just had the best conversation. We connected right away. It was exactly what we were both looking for. And by that Monday, it was February 29th, that we signed the contract. So we manifested each other. It was really incredible, actually.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this a little bit, because we didn't really talk too much about it on the interview with Bivi. And I know that a lot of our listeners are at that phase in their business where they're looking to either bring on agents or partner up or whatever. So talk to me a little bit about what were you guys looking for in a partnership, and how do your similarities and differences complement each other? So
we're a lot alike, which is actually we both work just so hard for our clients, and we'll do anything for our clients. And I think that's a big difference than what I've seen with a lot of the people that I was interviewing at the time. They were all kind of just looking to hire somebody so that they didn't have to work quite as much. But Vivi and we both, when I built my business in Denver, I worked 365 days a year, and I did a lot of deals right when I started, but it was grueling. And you're not a good agent if you're working all the time. So I really had no boundaries. And she really pointed out that, I do all of this business, but I need time off. I have boys and a wonderful husband, and I need a partner that can cover me on weekends and for vacation, so I can start having time with my family. And that was like a very pivotal part for me, because the first team I worked for, they had no boundary. I learned the hard way what burnout is like. Yeah. And expectations of working all the time. And that's what I just thought real estate agents did. And Vivi really pointed out, hey, you're not a good agent if you're working nonstop and you don't shut off. So she wanted a partner to be able to spend time with her family, and I wanted a partner to not work alone. And so I was really able to take over her clients and let her have some time off. And it was a really good learning lesson for me to know that you can actually be busier. My business actually did a lot better when I wasn't working all the time, because I think it was just getting that downtime really allowed me to come back to the office every day and just kick a lot of ass. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay. We like the occasional swear word in here. It keeps it real, right?
Yeah.
So when appropriately placed, I really do think it emphasizes the message.
Exactly.
All right. So I know a lot about the branding and amazing, marketing campaigns that you guys have over there at Team Vivi. And I think most people in the Denver market know your branding, because it's in a very positive way. It's everywhere and it's really attractive. So are you doing your own separate marketing to separate databases? Do you have a shared CRM? Like, how do you guys navigate this team partnership?
So we bought one CRM for our whole team, and that's what everyone operates off of. We do have different profiles for each agent. Every agent that we hire, they are expected within a week to get us their database so we can enter it and start really, really pushing out to all of them. Hey, I joined Team Bivi. So, our CRM has been, it took me and Bivi a couple of years to find one that was working really, really well for us. And we did, and it's done incredible. And we do different events. Like Bivi does Monday night dinners, and that's kind of her event where she really connects with a lot of her clients and her sphere. I started a monthly meetup, and it's called Fire Yourself. It's Financial Independence, Retire Early. And I kind of hit the ground running with that last year, and it's just done amazing things. And it really is about investing in real estate and kind of retiring early. So I have a different panel of speakers every single month, and that's just gotten a ton of people in. It's just been great. Our marketing team has just done an awesome job marketing that and getting a lot of people in. I've done a ton of deals just doing that, just starting that. I mean, people come and I had a friend, the first event I threw, I had a friend come and she said, I can't buy for another year. And I said, well, why don't you just get your numbers ran? Within 2 weeks, I had her under contract. The next one I had a gal that I kind of met at church one day, actually. And she said, if I ever buy a house, I'm going to use you. And she ended up coming. I invited her to that. She ended up bringing a friend that was a nurse at her hospital. And that friend has actually referred me over 5 clients. And that was just the first 2 events. So it's, I did it very selfishly. I wanted to learn more about real estate investing. And I couldn't find a lot of the information that I was looking for. So I just kind of started finding speakers to come and talk. And, at first I was kind of just trying to meet with them on my own, but then I was like, why don't I just offer this to everyone? So that really has been geared more to my sphere. And so each of us on the team have a different event that we really go after our spheres with. But, all in all, we do kind of the same newsletters and the same mailers and all of those are very, very similar to each other's. But then we all have an event that we really focus on and grow. So
that event sounds awesome. Where do you host it?
I had it, I've hosted it in several different places. The first one I had Scott Trench speak on his book, Set for Life. And he's the head of the podcast, Bigger Pockets, which has like 10 million listeners, I think. So, he had a good following, and I met him at a book club, actually, and I was just really intrigued by him. He was, I think, 26 at the time and had about 5 or 6 income properties that were all duplexes just around the Denver area. And I was like, this is the guy I want to, learn from. So I asked him to come and speak to just I asked him if he would just come do a speaking event for me. We did that in a bar. And my lesson learned on that one, I've never thrown parties. I'm not really good at event hosting whatsoever. So, no one could hear him because it was in a bar. So, that was the learning lesson. So I found another location. It was a WeWork building. Mm-hmm. And I was they allowed me to use their conference area for the next couple. And then we actually just ended up moving it to our office because it was just much easier. But it's growing again. So now we're going to have to find another location. So it jumps around, but it's mostly Denver Central. It's the only places I've had it, really.
Awesome. And are you doing that monthly?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
And how many folks are you inviting, and how many, what's the most you've seen in attendance so far?
I've invited probably I would say 50 to 60 at a time. And I've had anywhere from 20 to 40 at each event.
Awesome. That's a great turnout.
Oh, it was great. I was not expecting 10 people even at the first one. And I just had a ton of people. So it's actually took off kind of on its own because I didn't realize I was not the only one that wanted this education, which was surprising to me.
Yeah. Well, ironically, this is just too random. And I don't know if it's going to be insulting or not, but right now my laptop is propped on some books, and one of them is Set for Life, which I just and I haven't read yet. So I'm not meaning to make it a coaster for my laptop. I will read it. So it sounds like I need to hurry up and get on it. 'Cause it sounds like
It's a great book, and he was like an amazing first speaker, but you know, the first one, not a lot of people could hear him, which I was like, I'm sorry. So I didn't actually think anybody would show up to the second one, but I ended up having it doubled in size the second one. So it was interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And, so now with I know, like you mentioned, marketing, mailers, e-newsletters, events, and then what does your prospecting look like? I mean, are you on the phones calling a certain number of people per day, per week, et cetera? Do you have a strategy for that, or is it kind of organic?
It's very organic. So, right when I got into real estate, I did all of my deals the first year off of Facebook. It was just letting people know that I was in real estate. And I had, I grew up in Colorado. I had a lot of contacts on Facebook. They all live around the area. So a lot of them just reached out to me and said, I want to buy a house. And that was awesome. But other than that, I sat at open houses every Thursday night, Saturday, and Sunday for an entire year and probably took one weekend off that entire time. So I just kind of, that's how I built my network, and my past client list was really open houses and Facebook that first year. From that, I've just always it's been very organic. I think last year, 80% of my business was past client referral or past clients returning. This year, I think it was this past year was 90%. So, for me, I think people just know I do a good job for them, and they always refer me their clients, and they always come back to me, which is awesome. But we did start doing core coaching last year. Bivi and I did. We didn't take it well. We were never really dialers. But once we started seeing the impact it had on our business and just the energy it created, connecting with all of our past clients and other business professionals to build our business list, I mean, it once we started seeing the impact of that, it really took off. Our business started getting even, we started doing more production.
Are you pretty comfortable picking up the phone and calling past clients?
No, ironically, I'm actually more of an introvert, but I'm a relationship person. So I think that's why I've always connected really, really well with my past clients. They know I care, and I'm always asking them how they are. And, if they have a baby, I send them a card. It's just like, I'm very involved in all of their lives. I've just been really good at keeping the relationship alive. So the phone calls haven't been, no, I've never been good at calling. I tried everything the first year. I tried door knocking. I tried cold calling. I tried everything, but the open houses and the Facebook really were the things that got me all my business. And since out of that, I just have continued to stay in contact with my past clients. I always get them Christmas presents. I just, I'm just very involved in their lives. I become friends with all of them.
Well, I was asking mainly because a lot of us feel I don't know if insecurity is not really the right word, but it's uncomfortable sometimes to get on the phone and make calls.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that when you were doing the core coaching, which I assume probably pushed you to, track your activity and do your lead gen and all that, then you saw the results. And I've talked to a couple agents about this, that, if you're new in the business and there's someone you admire that's doing a lot of business, and you think, oh, it looks so easy for them. And the reality is that I don't necessarily think that discomfort ever goes away. Like, the fear doesn't necessarily go away, but you become addicted to the results of the activity.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I actually completely agree with that. I think my first year I did Bulge through Keller Williams twice, and I was terrified of getting on the phone. I was so shy back then. My disc was a very high S. I had no idea what I was doing. It was terrifying reconnecting. I mean, because Facebook was just starting to get pretty popular a couple of years before that, but I hadn't talked to a lot of these people for years. So reconnecting and just saying, hey, I'm in real estate. I'm supposed to be making these calls. It was terrifying. It was horrible.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of times, no matter how long you're in the business, there's sometimes, and it's not always fear or discomfort. It might just be like, this is not something I enjoy doing, is picking up the phone, but I'm going to feel that and do it anyway, because that is a skill that we can develop, is that we can act in spite of the discomfort.
Right. And where I really got over that fear was, when you're doing a lot of business, you're going to get a deal that goes south every once in a while, and you're going to mess up, and it happens. And it happened to me. And And I was terrified to ever reach out to that client again and ask for business. And I made myself do it. Now I'm selling them their second investment property, and they love me. They want me to come over for wine. They send me Christmas cards, And so when you get over the fear of always like messing up and just, know that it's bound to happen every once in a while, but you can own up to it and you can make those calls to even the hardest people, and it turns out to be okay, and you learn that it's okay. It's a learned behavior that calls aren't that scary, even with the scariest people. So I think it's so much easier for me to pick up the phone now and just say, hey, how are you doing? How's your house? Do you want to know how much equity you have in it? What can I do for you? It's so much easier than it used to be when I was just saying, hey, I'm in real estate now. Can you send me your business type of thing? It's not, CORE really helped with that, just getting my fear of not getting on the, when I started CORE, I would only fill about 10 calls. We're supposed to have 60 a week. And I would get about 10. It was just, I hated it. And now it's so easy. I go over 60 a week most of the time, I'm just so used to reaching out to all my past clients on a regular basis that, and my business sphere, that it's just normal conversations. It's not like, hey, I haven't heard from you in 2 years. It's, hey, how are you doing this month, basically?
Well, something you just said made me think of something as well, which is the fact that a lot of folks that, they have this discomfort with making calls to friends and then mentioning real estate, because then it feels like there's an agenda behind the phone call. Right. But my thought is that when you just talked about how you call and you check in and you say, do you want to know how much equity is in your home? To me, that makes me perceive you as a trusted advisor and an expert, because you're offering the value that comes along with staying in touch with your past clients. And it's not salesy, it's value adding, because you're basically saying, I care about you and your investment, and I want to make sure that we're always maximizing your investments. So,
yeah. And, another thing I implemented in my business is I tell them I'll always do a free design consult with you. If you're going to be remodeling something, please call me, because it keeps me top of mind. Even if they're planning on staying in the home for a long time, I say, call me, because I want to make sure you're putting your money in the right places. Call me if you need a contractor. Call me if you need a plumber. I mean, I'm always reminding them that I am their resource for everything. So it really is just coming from contribution, and making sure I'm the one they think of every time something happens. I mean, anytime like their coworkers or, their families talking about real estate, they're thinking of me because I'm constantly in their face now. Yeah. Whereas I used to just close something and they wouldn't hear from me for 2 years. That's not a good way to create the long-lasting relationship.
This is making me laugh because you probably don't know this, but the whole premise of Pursuing Freedom is the book, which was, when I wrote the book Pursuing Freedom, it was the strategy that was simply that. It's like, I was so afraid to keep in touch with past clients because they don't want to know about interest rates after they closed.
Right.
Who cares?
Yeah.
So it's like, you've got to find a way to be engaging in that, and in doing so by being that resource for all things, everything, not just household services, but anything they could possibly need. They think of you. Of course, they're going to think of you when they hear the word real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's genius, and very impressive, because you've done a lot in the decades that you've been in this business, and it's impressive that you bring the level of I guess fearlessness, or working in spite of your fear, and the work ethic, because there's just so many people that get into our business and they don't want to do the work, and you right in.
Well, and I think a lot of that was the situation where what I graduated into. I mean, no one was getting jobs. College kids were moving back in with their parents. I didn't really have that option. So it was, I really I had to work, and I had to make it happen, because no one was going to take care of me out of that. And so I think that is where a lot of agents get into this. They get in and think it's going to be busy, or, really easy. But you have to, I had to do open houses 3 times a week in order to build my business in the first year. And I probably didn't sleep. I definitely didn't take time off, but it, at the end of the day, my business kind of runs itself in the way that I now just get to be my clients' friends and call them and make sure they're okay, and really have that relationship with them. And that's why my past client referral is just so high.
That's so amazing. And I think it's really important that you touched upon that resilience and the perseverance and the work as well, because it takes all of those things to get to a point that with hindsight, you can feel that you've accomplished something amazing. And when you're in that place of feeling stuck, but you're also stuck with fear and not doing the activity, then you're not going to get the results. And so you just have to kind of push through. So it's awesome that you've done so. And I'm really happy for your success, and excited to see where the year takes you. If folks are listening and they want to get in touch with you, what would be the best way to get a hold of you?
They can email me at bess@teamvivi. That's BESS at teamvivi.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show today. You're seriously an inspiration, and I know that folks that are listening are going to be motivated to get up and get after it, because you know what, we all have our stories, but we're all capable of greatness in this business. So I'm really excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. That was really wonderful.
Well, here's to an awesome year ahead. And thanks everyone for tuning in. If you're enjoying the content, please make sure to leave a review on the app on your phone, on the podcast app. It helps us continue to attract awesome people like Bess, and make sure that the content is getting found. So appreciate all of you. Have an awesome day.
Thanks for listening to us.